Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Wednesday. My name is Arabella and I'm here with Carmen Chan. Say hi, Carmen.
Hey everybody.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. We have an awesome photo editing stream for you guys today. And it's not just today, it's tomorrow too. So we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff. And I'm so excited because Carmen's work is so beautiful, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on Adobe Live. And, I already have the chat open here. Let us know where you guys are watching from. It's always really cool. Carmen, we always have like tons of people from like all over the world, like literally everywhere. So it's super cool to see where people are watching from. I already see some familiar. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we have a really cool stream today. Carmen is here with us. She's a photographer, she's art director, and she's a mentor too. So she's also part of the Lightroom Ambassador team schedule today. So if we can take a look at that, that would be awesome. Cool. So we had Brandon Grace at 7:30 a.m. earlier today with getting started in Adobe XD. Jesus Ramirez gave us another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge just before us. So make sure to watch that and join us over on Discord because, there's a large community there. You can get feedback and all the fun stuff. And then we've got Carmen until about 11:30. And then we've got Paul Traney giving us the Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge at 11:30 a.m. We have Mercedes for editorial design at noon. Andrea Epi for the XD Daily Creative Challenge at 2 p.m. Kyle for a draw along at 2:30 p.m. and Voodoo Val and Anna Davis Court for a design off at 3 p.m. So got a lot going on, you guys. This year has been a big year for Adobe Live, I think, especially just everyone's, online and tuning in. So Adobe Live is a great thing to kind of have in the background if you're working or editing. So yeah, we're super stoked. Thank you, Carmen, for being here with us.
Of course. So much
Yeah,
exciting programming happening today. I feel
yeah,
like I could just sit
exactly.
in front of my computer all day and learn a ton of stuff.
Oh, totally. And that's what it's all about. It's just like, education and learning. So again, if you didn't catch the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge, you can still take a look at that. There's the replay. Right above the chat, there is a challenge tab. So that is where you can go ahead and learn how to join Discord and submit those challenges so that you can get some feedback. There's that whole community, like I said. So super cool. Thank you for putting that link, Paco. But yeah, so Carmen, we would love to know a little bit more about you and what you do. So I'll let you take it over.
All right. Okay. Yeah, we have my Instagram here.
Yes.
So I am a photographer and director based in Los Angeles, by way of New York and Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
I started my photography career, 10 years ago. It makes me feel
Oh my
really old.
gosh.
I know I
Wow,
look
that's
like I'm
incredible.
25, but I'm not. And yeah, I started out assisting. Actually, I had a career prior to photography, and so I worked in
Oh,
film and
interesting.
TV production um,
Very
in
cool.
Los Angeles. Yeah, so I have a production background. I was very much an administrative person,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't think that I had like a creative bone in me. But anyway, I was working in production on the TV show Heroes, which I don't know if any of you have seen. And I did that for a production for about 4 years, and then discovered photography through a friend who posted a photo on his Flickr.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, hey, your photography is really cool. Can you teach me how to use a camera? And so he took me to a park, taught me how to use an SLR on manual, and I
Aw,
fell in love. And that was it. I was like, oh,
that's
I wonder what
incredible.
yeah. So I was like, I wonder what a career in photography would look like. So I took an internship
Yeah.
and then assisted for 2 years and tested during that time, and then took that portfolio with me to Hong Kong, which is where I grew up for half my life. And then just like pursued photography as soon as I got there, and
Yeah.
showed my book once in the basically like worked for 4 years straight, moved back to New York, worked there for 2 years, and now I'm back in LA.
Wow, that's incredible. What an amazing journey. I
Yeah.
love that you mentioned Flickr too, because I think that's such a like staple of like, the old school way of showing portfolios and our work and all that fun
Yes,
stuff. So I
I
definitely know
know.
what you mean.
Throwback to Flickr and
Yes.
Zynga and
Oh my gosh. Photo
MySpace.
bucket. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited. Your work is beautiful. And I personally enjoy just like this architectural and like the way that you play with light and shadow. And just, I think it's really beautiful. So I'm so excited to learn from you. And I'm sure everyone in the chat is as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we've got a couple more people joining us. Lana, Ashraful. Hi, Jan Eric. I remember him. Cool. Yeah, follow Carmen on Instagram, and it's just Carmen Chan, right? Yep.
One word, Carmen Chan.
Yes. So go follow her on Instagram, and you can kind of stay updated on all of her work and anything that she's up to. And yeah, like you said, you're a Lightroom ambassador, right?
Yes, super excited about that. We announced that, I think, in March of this year. Myself and 9 other photographers, and it's their inaugural program. So they started out just selecting 10 photographers based in the US.
Yeah.
And we are located all over the US, from New York to LA to Utah, I believe Arizona. And yeah, like everybody has a different specialty. So there are people who are a part of the program who I don't think I would have crossed paths with, because they're such a different specialty. Yeah. But it's been amazing. It's been really inspiring because they are in a whole different realm of photography, a totally different style.
Totally.
And totally different passions. Like Omar photographs incredible dancers in the streets of New York. It's like a combination of street photography and like dance photography. Toby does really, really cool, like graphically crazy architecture photography.
That's amazing.
Andre does amazing portraits. Summer does like really, her ability to capture kids and light is really incredible and inspiring.
That's awesome.
And she's posted a bunch of stuff to the Lightroom like Discover section too, so you can see how she edits. So just the ambassador program has been kind of a gift during this time of like
totally. 2020 has been kind of insane, so I'm sure that's been a really great community and really awesome thing. Which actually, real quick plug, we Adobe did do this Adobe Creative Residency Community Fund. So anyone who's been affected by COVID and just like negatively impacted can apply for these creative funds that are supposed to help. And so that if somebody could plug in the link in the chat, that would be awesome. But yeah, cool. Well, Carmen, do you want to talk about what you're going to be working on today and head over to whatever? Is it Lightroom that we're starting in?
Yes. Okay. We're starting in Lightroom Classic.
Awesome.
And I am going to be going through an edit of a test shoot that I did, like a fashion portrait oriented test shoot that I did in Los Angeles. I'm going to be walking everybody through how I go through basically the library of raw images that I get at the end of the day, what I do to make my selects and process them. And if we have time, maybe do a little bit of retouching in Photoshop.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Super fun. I'm so excited. I remember seeing this on your feed, so I'm excited to see how it all comes together.
What happens after the shoot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I have already imported all of the raw images into Lightroom Classic, and I work in Lightroom Classic because that's what I learned on. As soon as, the thing after learning how to use the camera on manual was my friend taught me how to use Lightroom. And I was like, this is amazing because it's so, it's not super complicated. Technically, it's just a bunch of sliders,
Exactly.
So you don't I mean, the learning curve, in my opinion, is pretty low unless you are really trying to get into the curves and
Right.
yeah. But right off the bat, I think like just this top section can do so much
So
for you.
much. Totally.
So right now I am in the library screen, which when I edit, I always use shortcuts to try. And that's one thing that my friend taught me too. He's like, here are the shortcuts to save you time so you don't have to keep around. So the shortcut for library is G, which helped me remember because it's like you want to go see the grid.
Okay. Yes.
So G. So let's say
that's
like
a good point. That's a good way to
yeah
to remember.
And I'm gonna hit G so I can go back to this grid.
Okay.
And what I do is so to save you guys a pain, I didn't import everything. So like the hundreds that I took, I narrowed it down. So I go through and I do stars. So you can do the star filtering either by clicking down here or again, shortcut. I use the number keys on my keyboard. So if I go through, if I like it, then I'll 1-star it. And then if you make a mistake, you can just hit 0 to take away that star.
Okay.
So let's see. Sometimes I just kind of go through a few first to see, I guess if I'm gonna 1-star this. It's a lot of in my mind back and forth.
Are you the type of person that when you're kind of narrowing down those images, like you go through them quick and see what like stands out to you, or what's your like what is your criteria, your like process for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think sometimes I'll just, because if there are a lot of images and I remember while I'm shooting which one stood out to me, I'll kind of be so excited, import everything like right after the shoot. Even though I'm exhausted because I'm so excited to see the images. And then I'll like hone in on like my favorite shots of the day and really quickly make those selects and share them. Because I'm crazy, like a masochist like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but sometimes I'll remember like, oh, those are shots that I definitely I remember seeing them when I was shooting, and so I'm gonna go select them right away. Yeah. But other times I'm just shooting all day and maybe I don't even have that much time to look at the monitor while I'm shooting.
Right. Yeah.
Or the back of my camera because things are moving so quickly. So I do go back, and I mean, although sometimes there are certain chunks where I'm like, oh, I know that's not going to work, so I'm just going to skip those like 30 images.
Yeah. Very cool. Couple of questions actually. Fairy's asking, do you always use natural light for your lighting?
No. So, although I like that people think that because that's the result that I want to create, is that it feels like natural light. So some of the stuff in my portfolio, I would say it's maybe 50-50.
Okay.
I always go into a space trying to shoot natural light. But you'll see in some of these images when I edit that there will be some from like, with the existing light, and then I'll supplement that existing light with a flash.
Okay.
To create, the exact result I want.
Yeah.
Especially if, the direction you're facing isn't ideal for the natural light, then I have to have at least a flash to manipulate that so that I can see the model's face if she's too backlit or the shadows are too heavy. So that's a good question. But I always do try to light in a way that feels natural, which is just my style. I know, everybody has their own
it's
style.
very beautiful. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so do 1-star for this. I'm not going to start this just because I feel like her facial expression is weird to me, totally subjective.
Yeah, totally. That's the beauty of photography.
And I think, so when I shoot, I find a spot to put the model on kind of the background that I like. I try not to get too stuck in one spot and move around. So this is me like, oh, what does it look like from this side?
Yeah.
And then you can see, I was like, oh, there's this hot spot like in the middle here where the light is hitting. Whereas like when you go to this side, it's more like the light is backlighting her rather than hitting her. So I think I must have been like, oh no, that's not working, I'm going to switch back. I think
sometimes you just got to test things out, you know, you won't know until you do.
yeah. And even whenever I'm on a shoot, I think I dedicate a certain amount of time to that shot, to like what I had planned and what I had in mind going into it, and then leave a few minutes at the end to kind of explore and play and experiment and kind of do something crazy, because you never know, you know, what you'll discover when you're there. But it's definitely important to pre-plan so that you're not just going into it blindly.
Yeah, that's true.
So that was those. So what I do is, just for that shot, those are the 1-star ones. So you can go here to attribute, and then rating, and here, this is where you can see, like, narrow down the one that you filtered to see them all together. So these are the ones I 1-starred.
Okay.
So I like to go through like a shot at a time instead of going through all of them. That's just my personal process. So after I've looked at the ones, made my 1-star selects, my goal is to narrow it down to one shot, one image out of the entire setup. So these are the 1-stars I've selected. And then if I highlight them all, which you can do by clicking and holding Shift to highlight them all, or Command A. I'm all about the shortcuts.
Yeah.
And then I hit N to compare them all.
Ooh,
and then
that's a good way to kind of narrow.
Just to see them all side by side, so you're not like zooming in and being like, this one, and scrolling, you know. So N to compare all the ones you selected, and then I hit Tab to remove the sidebars to give myself more real estate.
Okay. There you go. I've never tried that. I might have to try that.
Yeah, that way you can see side by side. And I'm like, okay.
I feel like that's always like the thing about Lightroom, is that it's the image itself is so small within your window, you know, so that you're always like either having to zoom in. But this is excellent. I think I love this.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with this one. I'm gonna 2-star this, and then at the very end I'm gonna like 5-star my finals, but I'm just gonna 2-star that for now. And then I'm gonna remove this rating so I can go back to the ones that I haven't rated and gone through. So we'll continue with this one.
Awesome.
So you'll see that it's beautiful, but a lot of the light is hitting here, and I want it to hit her face. And I think, hold on, I'm gonna look back. Yeah, this must have been like the natural light. So when I go into a location, I see where the natural light is, and I see if I can work with that, and I kind of just stick the model there. And then I'm like, okay, I kind of like where this is, but we need to add some light. And I think this is another example of like, what if you get up? Because I think I was like, oh, this might be too distracting, or so this is just me trying different things. And this is like, okay, this light isn't working because it's, you know, there's no light hitting her face. There's too much shadow here. And then this is where I added a light and shot it through a window so that it came through like this with some shadows.
Okay, that's beautiful.
And this was I think it was just a bare bulb strobe, so it was a Profoto light without any diffusion on it, shooting through the window to mimic the sun.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is
that's so smart.
Yeah, I try. I mean, that's like, I think the easiest way, and one of the Lightroom ambassadors suggested this too. She said that it was Jennifer Chong. She's an incredible like still life food photographer, and she said when she first started practicing lighting, she really wanted to learn how to mimic, you know, natural daylight. That way, because she learned how to shoot with natural light and window light, but it was like, if you need to shoot on an overcast day for a client, you still have to deliver what, you know, everything that was in your portfolio that looks like natural light. So in order to do that, she just played around and it got to the point where she was comfortable using strobes in a way that made it look like sunlight.
Yeah, that's incredible. I've definitely seen that like people use strobes and put them like outside some weird, like where it creates like this almost like, yeah, it's just like going through whatever window, or even like, I don't know, just like weird like garage door like those little window things, and make it seem like it's just that's direct sunlight, or
Yeah, I think like I was shooting through some of these leaves, like you can see here where it casts shadows. So I think definitely like if you can shoot it through something, then it creates some like dimension, and it's not just like the whole image is fully lit with a flash feeling. And another trick is you can make like cardboard cutouts of a window frame.
Yes.
To create shadows.
That's true.
Yeah, that's super fun too. So I mean, very low budget. I've done it before. Just use cardboard. It's just something to create shadows, and to create more visual
experiment.
interest.
Yeah, totally. Awesome.
Okay.
We've got a couple people just joining us in the chat. Thank you guys for coming in. Is that someone you know?
Jennifer is the person who she's in the chat now.
Oh,
and I was just plugging her lighting skills.
Yes. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us. And for anybody who is, just jumping on, we are here with Carmen Chan. She's showing us her editing process in Lightroom, working on these beautiful portraits that, look very much like you're using natural light, but you definitely have let us know that you're being experimental and adding like that strobe that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, so you can see, I'm pointing to my screen like you can see my finger. You can see like the shadows on her body here, and that's through just like shooting the light through a plant.
Yeah.
To create those shadows.
I love that. Ooh. I just love the colors too.
Yeah,
the colors are very
like
beautiful.
Muted vintage vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of my work is definitely very I would say clean, minimal, but what lends itself to that is like the desaturation of it. I think I just tend to gravitate towards like neutral. So you'll see even when I edit this, even though it's orange really pops, I'm going to pull it all back.
Oh my gosh. I'm excited.
Okay, so yeah, I went through those 1 stars. So again, we can go through.
Awesome.
Narrow this down. And then this was the image that you saw on my Instagram. So we're definitely going to do that guy. And I can show you how I retouch it if we have time. And then
perfect.
And so since I've 2-starred that, then I'm like, okay, now I just want to compare these. So you can X that one out. And that doesn't mean like it's deleted or you've unstarred it. It just means it removes it from this view of comparing so that you can now just focus on these 3.
That makes sense.
I think this one's my favorite. So I'm going to 2-star that. And then hit G again to go back to grid. And then remove this star to see all of the images. And then when you're in this grid library view, you can use your keyboard shortcuts minus to make the thumbnail smaller or plus to make them bigger. So I do that a lot so that I can get like a quick overview.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I will just, again, selecting. So if I hold shift while I'm selecting this last one, it'll select that whole series.
Yeah.
If I don't want to click through, and then if I know there's a lot, then I'll just select those and then hit N again to compare, just to look at them all at once.
Yeah.
If I know that like, these 2 are so similar, but I don't really, just whatever works for you, whatever feels the most efficient. And I do this, that way I can narrow it down that way. And then in here, again, you can rate them as well.
That's so cool.
So 1 star those.
Looks like I need to touch up on my shortcuts. So useful.
I'll just go with that one. Yeah, I'd say I can move across Lightroom quickly, but I think the decision-making part is the hardest because I'm indecisive.
Fairy has another question. Any tips to get stabilized hand while taking a photo without a tripod? Ooh. Do you
Yeah,
shoot free-handed or do
I
you?
do. I only use a tripod if I have to composite an
Mm-hmm.
image. But otherwise I shoot not on tripod because I feel like I move around so much that it's so restricting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like I'm like
Yeah.
handcuffed to a tripod. Like it's so frustrating to me. I move around a lot and I shoot on all prime lenses.
Okay, so you're moving up closer, further away, and like,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, like, there's that freedom from like being able to be at whatever angle and like quickly doing it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So my
Yeah, for
body is a
sure.
zoom. So I don't shoot on tripod. So my tip for getting stability is making sure that your shutter speed is high enough so that you're not getting motion blur unless that's what you want.
Totally.
So I typically don't shoot below 1/125th of a second.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah,
besides
that should
that,
be,
yeah, I
that's
would
good.
say that's the main tip. And then I wouldn't shoot too shallow because if you're moving around a lot, then like the plane of focus is going to be really hard to catch if you're shallow.
Right, right,
So if
totally.
you're shooting at 1.4 on a 50 millimeter lens and you're focused on the nose, but you're shifting around a lot like this, it's going to be, I think, tougher to,
Yeah, you don't know what will be in focus because
yeah,
you're moving around so much, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um, okay, let's go through this. Love it.
So beautiful. This is a good
Thank you.
like space too. It's so lovely.
Airbnb. No,
Love it.
Pure space for people that are in the US
Yes.
who are looking for locations that
Yeah,
are, because
Peerspace is a great
Airbnb,
resource.
yeah, Airbnb typically, I think they don't allow shoots unless you get approved by the homeowner beforehand because it's not really what they're meant for. And there's like different insurance
Right,
for photo
right.
shoots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So pretty.
Mm,
Love it.
okay, let's see. So we can narrow this down and we'll pick our 2-star. I think like this. Okay. Well, now you guys know how to filter. I'm not going to go through everything to bore you. But what I do once I get down to these 2 stars is if there are multiple shots that I 2-star, like multiple images, then I'll narrow them down based on like the variety of, so like within a shoot, I want to have images that are different crops, meaning like this image is a super tight, beauty portrait. This is a full length, more like fashion, and you can see the environment more. This is an even wider one. These two are kind of similar, but I think for like variety purposes, you don't want them all to be like this, just because, I mean, if you want to, you can, totally subjective.
Yeah.
But for me,
Totally.
I love the variety of like angles and crops so that it feels more dynamic. So you're not always.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like on like your feed too on Instagram. Like when you're putting photos together, it's nice to have that kind of range so it doesn't feel repetitive.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So these are the ones I've narrowed down, and typically I'll do like 1-star and then 2-star and then 5-star for the final ones.
Okay.
But so between these two, I'll do this one because it's a little bit like these two, the crops are sort of similar. So let's 5-star these guys. And again, I'm using the keyboard shortcut of the number 5 to start quickly. So then now you can narrow them all down. So these are my sort of my final selects. Yeah, and
Perfect.
you get to look at them all and be like, okay, I'm happy with this series. And then now I'll go in and we can start editing. This is the fun part.
Love it. I think I'm so excited because I think Lightroom has come a long way. From like, I guess over the years, and a lot of features have been added, and it's gotten really, really good to the point where sometimes you don't even need to go to Photoshop sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially for portraiture and like that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really, really lends itself well to that.
I agree. A lot of the times, if it's not like for this shoot, because it's fashion and for that beauty shot of her skin,
Right, right.
it will require a little
Yeah.
bit of retouching. I mean, also her skin is amazing, so it's again
Yes.
totally subjective. It just depends on the client. But typically
Right,
for
right.
editorial, especially for newspaper, they don't allow retouching. And for editorial, it's not, at least for the stuff that I shoot, I don't like to heavily retouch. And so a lot of my editorial shoots, I just run through Lightroom and then send them to the client. I don't bring it
Yeah.
into Photoshop at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can get it to a place where I'm happy with it just with Lightroom alone.
Yeah. And I think it's like Lightroom's very seamless too. And like, you know, it's, I think that's, I mean, the way that you can have a whole gallery of from the same shoot, I think is what's really like amazing about it. And you
Yeah.
can apply all those edits to, to multiple images if you wanted to build out, from the same shoot.
Yeah, that's what I do. So I'll show you guys how I do that. So this first image, this hasn't been treated. This is straight out of camera.
Super fun.
So the white balance, if it's totally off, which it isn't right now, but you can see that it's pretty cool in here, but because the sun is hitting right here, it's pretty warm. So I tend to go in and go back and play with it. So I'm just going to do some slight adjustments here.
Okay.
Exposure, bring it down slightly. And I don't play with contrast because I use curves instead of the contrast slider. And then for highlights, I'm going to bring it down because I see this, like, it's pretty hot on her face.
Yeah.
So you can see that it does a lot of recovery both in the sky and her face with the highlight.
Cody says that suit is fabulous. The one from the other shot.
Oh, yes, I know. Well, whenever I do a fashion shoot, I'm like, okay, gotta stay away from the wardrobe rack so I don't try to go shopping.
Oh my gosh, yeah, for sure. Karebi has a question. Did you have a specific color palette for these photos?
I did. I created a mood board prior to the shoot with a color palette in mind so that I could give direction to the wardrobe stylist on what to pull.
Yeah.
And also with the location in mind.
Okay.
So yeah. So we definitely try to think as much pre-planning as possible. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, Paco's. I like that. Okay. Thanks, Paco, for answering questions. So the shadows, it's not too dark. And then when I play with the shadows and the blacks, I look at the histogram here because this tells me, so watch if I push the blacks up, then that red disappears, which means there's no area within the image where it's where I'm losing data in the darks. And I typically push the shadows and the blacks to where I don't lose that, which I think adds to the lower contrast and the softness of my images. Because if I like crank this down, then it's like really contrasty.
Yeah.
Intense. So I look at this too, and looking at this also helps when you're exporting to print or those sorts of purposes, because
right.
The darks and the shadows tend to print a lot darker.
That's
so just in case, I like to make sure that there's nothing being lost on this end of the histogram. So I've played with these here. I don't use any of these.
Okay.
Because I try to stay, I try to stay within the space of it looking somewhat
realistic.
Yeah, realistic. I would say my style is less stylized.
Okay.
I think what I do with Lightroom is make the images feel the way that I want them to feel, and adding these things, adding these elements for me in the processing don't do that for me.
Yeah.
But I do play with vibrant saturation. So what I like to do first is saturation -10. And then that's just like my typical go-to. It's like -10 or -15, but you can see like when I start going to 15, it gets a little, again, subjective, but
yeah.
with 10.
I think there's something cool about like kind of desaturating just like a tad, because then you can later then focus on what you might want to saturate, like other colors in the image, or
yeah. And then we'll see that down here too with the specific hue saturation sliders for the individual colors. So my default is -10 for saturation, and then I increase the vibrance here.
Nice.
To 10. And then for the curve, I just bring it up slightly here to brighten everything. Nice. And then at this point, I hit the the slash, backslash, the backslash key, which allows you to see what you've done so far. So if you hit it, I go like this a lot, just like toggling back and forth. So this is before and this is after. And I already feel like we're in a much better place because this was like more contrasty. We're losing this here in the color. So it already feels a lot softer.
Yes.
And then this is where I'll go in and like mess with the exposure again, because since I've brought this curve up, that brings up all the midtones. Then I'll come back and like bring this back down again.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a lot of going back and forth. And then for my color, I put these slight curves in the red curve.
Awesome.
Green curve.
Whoa.
And I find that this creates more of like a, I guess like a film color.
Yeah.
Oh, actually,
yeah, it does.
So this is to see like the raw image and then what you've done so far, but you can also toggle this guy here just to see like what the curve does.
Oh, okay.
So it creates a little bit of contrast, and then it also shifts the color slightly.
Yeah, for sure. Saiping has a question. What's your favorite focal length?
I would say the 50.
Yeah.
The 50 and then the 35.
Nice.
Yeah, I do own, just because 50 is, I think it's like, so I'm also not a super like photo tech gear person.
Girl, I'm right there with you. That is probably like, I'm literally, I'm so in sync with you right now. Neither am I.
Okay, good. And that goes to show that you don't, I mean, of course it's helpful.
Yeah.
Because you need to know how to use it.
Totally is.
I know as much to the degree that I need to achieve what I want to. So people are like, what do you think about like the newest camera that came out? I'm like, well, I have the cameras that I use and I can tell you about those, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think the 50 is the closest to like your, like the human
what you
eye.
see.
Yes. And then 35 is like a little bit wider. So 50 for me is the most comfortable, and I love that it can get you like a very beautiful depth of field.
Yes.
And I do own the 24, but I think I've only used it like twice. And I think I got it because I think I got it when I was in Hong Kong and I was in really tight spaces shooting environmental portraits. And so like you can't use a 50mm lens to shoot an environmental portrait, like to get a full-length portrait of somebody in like a 400 square foot apartment.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's tiny.
I got it. Yeah, I got it for that purpose. And honestly, it's brand new. It's gonna resell for very, very well because it's literally like new condition.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's pretty awesome though.
Yeah, but the 50 and the 35 are definitely my favorite lenses.
Yeah. Well, and I think like even just like as prime lenses, you know, like there's something to be said about like then getting more creative because you've just got that focal length only when you're shooting. And so you can really like play and experiment and kind of challenge yourself, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I learned like the first lens that my friend let me borrow was the 51.8, and that's like a
oh my gosh, yeah,
I think that's $150 lens. Yeah, and it's amazing. So maybe that's why I also gravitate towards that, because that's what I learned on, and that's kind of, but I still love it. Yeah. Okay, so This area I mess with a lot because it's, again, adds to the I guess the film kind of coloring and the
Yeah,
desaturation.
yeah.
So you'll see when I go into the saturation panel, I'm like continuing to desaturate everything. So typically I just mess with these a little bit, just to get them to like, so I go back and forth because I'm looking for where this green exists in the image, and then
Right. Sometimes pushing it all the way just to see what it affects like is a good indication of
like
where
that,
that color
like
is.
what you're
Yeah.
working with.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure. This is awesome. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. We have Carmen here until 11:30, so she has a wealth of knowledge, and she'd be excited to answer, I'm sure.
Yeah. Any questions about anything?
Yes. And also one thing, if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure to head over to Behance, because that's where you have access to the chat and you can engage with us and ask those questions. So behance.net/live is the link. So make sure to head on over and you can talk to us and ask Carmen whatever.
So now I'm in the saturation,
Okay.
and I find that so I shoot Nikon, and
Okay.
I find that the reds tend to run a little bit more saturated for Nikon, which is totally fine, because then you can go into Lightroom and adjust it.
Right.
So I have here -12 and then -12, 11. I just kind of get a feel for, because I this also desaturates the skin tone, so kind of have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Can't go
But
too crazy.
I don't mind that either. Let's see, the green. I'm gonna bring this down like a
Jan Eric says, "Yay for Nikon."
Yes, I know. I think Canon, actually, I think Nikon was more popular in Hong Kong. Like a lot more professionals use Nikon, but then in the US, a lot more people use Canon. So
yeah, I use Canon. So, but it's just like the thing that whatever you started on is like, you kind of just like stick to it sometimes.
yeah.
And I always hear of people switching over, and I'm like, that means you have to learn a whole new system. Like, you're already used to wherever your buttons, or your, like where your buttons are, and
yeah,
and
like
stuff.
everything so intuitively,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And you have like your entire kit of lenses. Like for me, I have all these prime lenses. So switching over is like really daunting for me.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But yeah, I'm glad Jan is on Team Nikon.
Yes. Saiping asks, what's your fave go-to lens? Which you kind of answered a little bit already, right? The 50 or the 35?
Yeah, the 50 1.4 or the 35 1.4. But honestly,
Nice.
So I use a Sigma Art, which is like my all-time favorite. It's so sharp and beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
But again, I mean, I started on the 50 1.8, and I actually rarely shoot at 1.4, but it's just such a sharp lens.
Yeah, that's so true. I have a couple more questions. Ooh.
Yeah,
I think as soon as we told everyone to ask, everyone's like, let's go. So Kyle is asking, what camera do you shoot
on? Hey Kyle, I shoot on the Nikon D810 or I also have my D700 from kind of back in the day before I upgraded, but I still use it to this day because especially if it's for social content or e-com, like product display page stuff where they don't need the resolution of the D810. It would be like overkill to shoot like 50 megabyte like raw files for something that's going to live as like a 2000 pixel long 72 dpi image.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah, so don't necessarily, and if I need more resolution, then I'll rent.
Yeah, absolutely. Azael's asking, what's the best export settings for your photos when uploading them to Instagram?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to show that the process later of exporting.
Ooh, okay, perfect. But so Azael, stick around. Don't leave us. Or, we do have the replay after, so
yeah,
you can watch it.
Should I mention them now, or should I make him wait?
I think you can just make them wait. You're still sharing your process.
Cool.
And we got a
Stick
couple more
around.
questions. Sorry.
No.
I'll let you keep working while I ask you this. But
Yeah, I can
Harsh is
multitask.
asking how much time it took till you completely understand the histograms on Lightroom, I'm assuming. Yeah.
So I only understand them as far as like wanting all my data within, the ends of the histogram.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not like, I can't like explain the science behind
Right,
the
right.
histogram to you. But I think it's definitely helpful just to, like when you're shooting and you look at the back of your camera, and if it's hard to see whether the image is correctly exposed, I go to the histogram and make sure like it's not peeking
Getting
in either
clipped off.
direction. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
clipping. So I would say, I mean, just learning that one thing took like 5 minutes just for someone to tell you, like when you're shooting, just make sure it's not too far on either end, because it means like for
Right.
example, if I shot this image and for some reason I couldn't see the back of my camera because it was so bright outside,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
or like the screen, the screen is really small on the back of your camera because you're using an
Mm-hmm.
older model, which is totally fine. But I look at the histogram and I'm like, unless you're shooting a huge portion of sky or something, and
Yeah.
you want to make sure that your shadows aren't clipped. But this is like, if you see your histogram on the back of your camera and you see this, then you know that you're way overexposed, and you can
Yeah.
bring it down so that at the very least, you can have some information here. Because especially
Yeah.
if you shoot raw, it's not going to be a problem if you're
Yes.
like, 1 or 1.5 stops underexposed like this. You can bring it back in raw using Lightroom.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but
It's
you
almost
definitely,
better to be underexposed slightly than
yes,
overexposed, because then sometimes you can't bring back those highlights.
yeah, that's true. So that's what I use the histogram
Yeah,
for, is
that's
for
great.
information. If you
Mm-hmm.
It's more like a data point, I would say.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
for sure.
use it creatively by any means.
Mm-hmm.
um Okay, so we've gone through and done a bunch of desaturation on
Adjustments.
specific
Mm-hmm.
colors. And then I can show you what that does. So it like
Yeah.
changed the greens to less of a yellow green and more of like a desaturated, cooler green. You can see it in the leaves here.
Yeah.
And then I changed the color of the sky and the luminance of it. You can see
Mm-hmm.
that here.
Wow, that's
But
beautiful. It's
I
already
think
coming out.
you have to be careful though. Like if you do this, you can see all this like kind of masking that's happening here, because
Yeah.
in this spot there's actually no blue, there's only white. So but when you're
Because of
um
the backlighting.
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
when you're up here, it's not as noticeable when it blends more. But if you crank it down too much, it's going to look really funky here and here and here. So just have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's
Make
great.
sure it's blending well.
Angel's asking, what are some ways to achieve softness in post, or is that more dependent on the lens?
Softness. Can you be more specific about where the softness? Because if
Yeah.
it's softness, like as far as the background, or like, so this kind of softness in the foreground is because I was shooting through a bush or something. Like I love to
Yeah.
put things in the foreground to create more layers within the image, and also
Mm-hmm.
to draw your attention away from maybe harsher parts of an image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Softness for the background would be a shallower depth of field. Softness for the I guess overall image could be done either in post, like in Photoshop with a filter.
Yeah.
What do you think, Arabella? Were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, yeah, because softness can mean so many different things, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be like the texture in, I don't know, the model's clothing, or like, yeah, or like something like haziness, around the image. So I think it
Hmm.
just depends. Maybe, yeah, maybe elaborate a little bit more, Angel. That'd be awesome. But
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could do it with like a filter on your lens.
yes, that's so
Um,
true.
I
There's
have
like
one of
super cool
those.
effect, like lens or filters that you can put on your lenses.
Yeah. And then that you get in camera. But I guess the disadvantage of doing it in camera is that you can't go back and remove that softness.
Right. That's so
but
true.
But I do love the effect of getting it in camera. You have to be committed to that.
Yeah.
No going back.
But yeah, thank you guys for everybody who's joining and asking a lot of questions. I'm like here playing catch up. But Excellence, hi Excellence. They just joined. He says, sorry if this has been answered, but how do you take such sharp photos? Do you have any tips to improve my sharpness?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Excellence. Thanks for joining. It's okay that you're late as long as you're here till the end. No.
Yes.
Sharpness in photos, I would say shoot at a less shallow depth of field if you're having trouble like hitting that focus. And it might also have to do with typically prime lenses are a lot sharper than zoom lenses.
That's
just
true.
the quality of the glass. And like here, what did I shoot this at? 2.8. So up here below the histogram, you can see what your camera settings were when you shot. So I shot this at 2.8 on a 15 millimeter lens, and you can see that it was a little on the shallow end because she's soft here out of focus. And she's sharp on her right eyelash.
Yeah, for sure.
So I would say if I shot at 3.5, that might have helped prevent that. So not shooting so shallow. And then, yeah, I think it's the quality of the glass and making sure that your shutter speed is high enough so that you're not getting motion blur, which is causing softness.
Totally.
And then in Lightroom, you can also play with this sharpening setting, which I don't do because then it's like becoming, in my opinion, like too crunchy and sharp, and I don't that's not like what I want out of my images. Like they don't need to be super sharp. I actually think that, again, totally subjective, but if you look at stuff that was shot on film, it's in focus, but it's not necessarily like super sharp. I don't think
there's a quality to it that's kind of like softness.
Yeah. And I think that also, I guess it depends on what you want to do out of like the purpose of the image. Because you see a lot of like fashion and portrait stuff, and some of it is totally soft and blurry.
Yeah, some of it's blurry. Yeah. But that's just the art of it sometimes. Like,
exactly.
It's totally like, it's kind of like what your intention was and what your goal was for that photo. And like, if that was what you meant to do, then like, by all means.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Jan said that lenses need to be calibrated. Yeah, I've definitely had to calibrate my Sigma lens before because the focus point was not, it was like back focused. So that's a good solution too. Thank you, Jan.
Yeah. A lot of people are jumping in. Kyle says, hi, Carmen. This is great so far.
Thanks.
Yeah. Super awesome. No, this is great. A lot of good tips and just knowledge being shared.
Yay.
Thank you, Cody.
So the default for sharpening, I believe is 40 when you come into Lightroom, and I like to bring it down.
Yeah.
Which I don't, for my style, I'll use noise reduction if I'm shooting at a really high ISO, but since I photographed it at ISO 100, that noise reduction isn't necessary. I do always check these chromatic aberration and profile key color around the edges, and then the profile corrections, you can set which lens here. Usually it auto, I don't think it has Sigma in here, but it still will kind of perspective correct and vignette correct for you. So you can see what that did there as far as like, correcting the perspective and the vignetting. And then you can go in here to correct it further if you find that's necessary.
John has a question. In relation to fashion, do you have to worry about the clothing being color accurate, or do you have leeway while editing like you're doing now?
That's also specific, but I would say if it's editorial, like if it's a fashion editorial for a magazine, in my experience, it doesn't have to be color accurate, because oftentimes the photographer is applying a color treatment, which sometimes throws colors totally
Everything
out of
off.
whack. Yeah. And I think in that case, it's more about the fashion credit, like the credit for the designer being in there. And also it's more artistic leaning.
Yes. Whereas like if it's a photo for a website or something.
Yeah. So
to show true colors.
So photos that I've done for clients for clothing, where the clothing is being sold online, I would say like I take photographs that are more editorial and stylized and treated, where the color is not super accurate, but then there's always going to be images, typically on Seamless, where the color needs to be accurate, and I either use a color card, or sometimes that doesn't work, and so I'll need to just do it by eye, where I have the fabric in front of me, and then I make sure I adjust the white balance and the hue accordingly so that it matches, because for sometimes, like depending on how you light it, it might not render accurately, and so I always do adjustments after. Yeah. Thanks, John.
Great questions, you guys. Karebi's asking, did you add noise on the final photo?
I add grain, so I think I did that. Oh no, that's down here. So I didn't add noise. I shot it at ISO 100, so there shouldn't be any noise really. So for this, instead of using, you could rotate, but I just go straight to the crop tool. And then if you go to the corner of the crop tool here, it turns into this little kind of curved arrow. And I do this to rotate it and then close. And and then I add some grain here, just a little. And I think, I guess a trick is if you have something that is soft, or I don't know. Yeah, I guess soft. If you add grain to the overall image, then it just feels like just adding that texture over the whole image will make that softness less apparent.
Okay.
Because it's just an overall
love the
texture.
Look of grain. It's so pretty, and just like even like a slight little bit like makes such a difference.
Yeah, me too. It's just adding, because digital it's just too perfect to me.
Too sterile.
Yeah. Okay, so this is pretty much.
That's awesome.
Here I'm
beautiful.
A little bit more. So actually, I'm gonna try this. I didn't do this in the original edit, but I'm gonna give it a try because I'm feeling like this is too hot. So this is adjustment brush. If you go into this panel here, you can see the size of the brush. You can decrease the size by pressing the left bracket, and then decrease the feathering by pressing shift and left bracket. I always like to keep things pretty feathered, so I'm going to do that at 100, make it smaller, and then I'm gonna, let's see, put this at 0, see if we can bring the highlights down just in her face.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That tool is like so useful for like those little areas of the image where you just want to affect like just that part.
Oh, here, flow, density. I'm not doing too much. Okay.
Perfect. And just to remind you all, today we're doing something a little bit different. We are reviewing portfolios. So yeah, if you want to get your portfolio reviewed in the future, make sure to submit those over on Discord. So yeah, we're excited to check out someone's work and kind of give some feedback, and it'll be really fun. So we'll have to go into the Space Center.
Okay, cool. So that helped her face out a bunch. You can see there and there.
Yeah.
So
oh yeah, that made such a difference.
And then we can see the before and after by hitting
Wow,
the
that's so good. What a difference.
slash. Yeah. So it's just, I think, overall color, contrast. And then here I'll go back and just do like final white balance adjustment, just because things change so much when I go into the saturation panel or the HSL panel that typically, okay. So I would say this is good for now. You can always go back and fix it or play with it some more. So what I like to do, like you, Arabella, you had mentioned before, where you can create a preset for the shoot and try to see if it'll work to apply it all. So you can see here that I've done that with other shoots. And sometimes I'll just go in right away from like on a new shoot and just hit a bunch of these and see like if any of them would work for the shoot that I've just done, rather than like creating a new preset every time.
Right.
But for the sake of this, I'll show you how I create a preset. So now that I've made all these adjustments on this image, go to create preset. And then I'm going to call it 200916 Brittany Adobe. Call it whatever you want. And then I put it, I select the group Carmen, so it all stays within this. Oh, and I want to say something about naming too, because for the people who are maybe are curious about how I organize my archive and find 20 terabytes.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I do like year, month, day, and then client, and then like project. That way every file, like I know where to find it and when it was shot. And then it's organized chronologically when you see it like in your Finder.
Yeah. That's smart.
Yeah. So for this, we chose a preset name, and then here you can select which of the adjustments that you want to save as your preset. So typically I don't select white balance because the white balance can change across the shots.
Right.
And then exposure as well, because from shot to shot my exposure changes. And then I also don't select transform because
for all the crops and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. But everything else can stay, like should be able to apply nicely to the rest of the images. So I'm going to hit create. And now you can see that the preset that I saved is right down here.
Awesome.
So let's see how.
I just realized that you have some Mastin Labs there. Love.
Yeah. I've definitely played with Mastin and Visco. And actually, a lot of the presets that I've created for myself that you saw in that list are like, some of them are just from scratch, like I just showed you. But some of them are also like a Mastin Lab or a Visco preset, and then I go in and fine tune it.
Tweaks.
So let's see. So this is the straight out of camera. Wait, before. Oh, this is straight out of camera, right? Yeah. So if you like mouse over, you can see it like quickly apply. So you can get. So of course this one like wouldn't work. So sometimes I'll just mouse over them and see like, oh, that could work.
Yeah.
It's like a quick preview of like previous presets that you had. So we'll see if this one that we saved could work. It's looking pretty flat. So I'm gonna go in maybe trying to decide which one I should do. Let's just go with this one.
It's all about just tweaking things and playing around.
Yeah, it can be. So for this one, we cranked down that highlight because for the previous image, you know, she had that hot spot on her face. But that's not applicable here because the exposure in camera was really nice since I was lighting it with that strobe. So I don't have to bring that highlight down for this. And when I do, it becomes like muddy feeling.
Yeah.
Like you'll see it here where there's like no information here, meaning there's like no highlight. Like I don't need it to go all the way up for it to be like super contrasty and lose information down here. But I do want to bring it back to a place where it feels like nice and bright rather than muddy.
Yes. Yeah. And flat.
Yeah. So these are, I think, in a good spot. And you can see here when I pull the blacks, see up here, like it starts appearing again. So I want to get it to a place where there's nothing at that end.
Yeah. Make sure that's you're not losing any details. Oh, there's some people in the chat that love Kirk
Visco.
and Maston and Visco. Yeah, I think generic. Their presets are awesome, but I think Kyle's right. I think Visco doesn't sell them anymore, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and Lauren asks if I have ever used. Oh yeah. I answered that earlier. Yeah, Lauren. So I've used them before, but I don't use them like straight out of the box. I'll always,
and this is for Visco presets.
Yeah, or any in general. I've actually, so I would say like I used Visco and Maston like at the beginning of my career, but at this point I have like such a particular process, and treatment that like you can see here, these are my like presets, I guess.
Yeah.
That I've created that work for me. So let's see. I think the color, I'm gonna pull this curve down a little to create a little bit of contrast. Let me bring this down. And I think for the most part, like across shoots, if I already created a preset, I'm typically just adjusting exposure like up here, this section, because I don't want like all the color adjustments to change drastically across the shoot. Otherwise it won't look consistent.
Right.
So my goal is to play around with these up here so that the images all look cohesive. So like going into this shot and messing with all of this down here will do the opposite of that.
Right. That's awesome.
And then besides selecting the preset here, you can also go back and Shift Command C, which is to copy settings. And that brings up this window, which will allow you to select which of the settings from this image you want to paste to another image. So sometimes I'll do that if like allows you to like batch paste.
Yes.
So I'm going to try that for this.
Awesome.
So, or maybe this one. I think this one already applied. So that then I hit Shift Command V and that pasted the settings that were on this image to this image. As you can see, again, this needs adjustment. So this is pretty much my process. It's like copy and pasting settings and then going into each image and then adjusting because unless I'm shooting in studio, then the light kind of varies across each setup.
Totally.
So I'll bring this exposure down, bring this highlight down, and then warm it back up because it feels. I
feel like that's a very like common misconception about like using presets sometimes is that like, you can paste it onto, all these images, but like every image kind of comes across differently, things change, especially when you're working with natural light, color changes. The exposure, when you're fiddling with your settings, and so there's always a like fine tuning to be done.
100% for sure. Even across, especially if you're shooting with natural light because the sun's moving in and out or you're moving around, and I think that's what I like about using Lightroom is that like you can jump from image to image and make those adjustments super quickly, and easily, and then paste them and see if they work. And it's just a matter of moving these, moving 3 to 4 sliders to
totally.
get an image to a spot where it's working for you versus like having, in Photoshop, having to open it and then create layers and saving that out as a new file. These are all just, they're not doing anything to your raw image. They're just creating a sidecar XMP file. But that was another thing I wanted to mention is catalog settings. Is it? Oh, here. So I created a new catalog. So actually it's not set this way, but if you go into catalog settings, and I always check automatically write changes to XMP.
Okay.
And what that does is for rather than all of the information about how you adjusted your images being only living in the catalog, it creates a separate little file in that folder.
Okay.
And it's called like an XMP. So I want to show that really quick.
That makes sense because if you do buy like presets or, those kinds of things, like sometimes they'll come as XMPs as like, that's like that little file that like,
exactly.
Gets applied to the image.
Yeah. So see here, there's all these XMPs.
Yes.
And so they're not, they're just these little sidecar files. And basically this is what tells Lightroom, it like translates it to like an adjustment or a preset. Yeah. That way, if you are saving out your files, like on a drive, and then for some reason, like your catalog is on your computer and not on the drive, you can still open these images and all of the ratings and the presets will all be there, like
that makes
on the
sense.
drive rather than attached to the catalog. So that's what I like to do, just the way that I manage my files.
Yeah, that's a good tip for sure.
And then those the ratings will also show up in Bridge.
Oh, okay.
So that's helpful too.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, so let's see, go back here.
Such a beautiful photo. I love the light.
This was again, looks like sunlight, but I had
right. I know, it really does.
Yeah, I had Gabe, who was assisting me that day, he was holding a light on a light stand and because this is like a balcony, so he had it extended over the balcony and it was like hanging off maybe 4 feet off the balcony, but then pointed back towards her.
Wow.
So that's how I like, because otherwise it would have been, I don't have the test shot, but otherwise it was just like overcast with no direction.
Yeah. Well, it looks lovely.
Thanks. So again, I Shift Command C to copy these. And let's see how that applies to this, because let's see, that apply. Hold on. Oh, there. I think it's going. Let's see if this works. Here we go.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, the same settings or the same adjustments, but exposure needs to come down.
Yeah.
I think we can bring the highlight back up. Exposure can come down a little bit more, and then more back up. And then you can see the difference that those adjustments make.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I'm moving without saying what I'm doing, so it's just so intuitive. So
well, I mean, it's like you all of this is up in your head. It's a different thing when you have to talk about it. So Command A to select all, and then I hit N to compare them, and then I hit Tab to like hide those sidebars so that I can see all my images side by side. And then sometimes I'll go in here and open this guy up, and then these are like quick adjustments, and these increase or decrease by 1/3. And I want to say there was this. Oh, if you hit Shift, this is a like thing I learned recently. So it's
default is these arrows are 1/3 of a stop, and then
Okay.
the double arrow is 1 stop. If you hit shift, this becomes a 1/6 of a stop
Oh my gosh.
rather than a 1/3. So you can do even minor adjustments, because sometimes I'm like,
gosh.
oh, that's too much, and this is too little, and then or the, just like a half step, which is really cool.
That is pretty cool.
So yeah, I mean, this is all looking pretty good to me. I would say I want to like adjust the white balance a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe bring this down. And then you can see which one I selected by like which one has the black kind of square around it. Because these individual adjustments are not going to be for the
all of them.
Yeah. If you wanted to do that, then you hit G to go back to grid, and then they're all selected, and then you can do that within here. So if I hit that, you can see they're
all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when you're in this, in the compare mode, I'm going to hit N again. Then it's just the individual one that's framed.
Perfect. Oh, Angela says, loving these shortcut tips, Carmen, making my life easier.
Great. Yes. Our goal is to be more efficient.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So let's see. Oh, I can show you now how I export these. So let's just let's select all, since I want to export all.
Okay.
I'm going to right click and here export. And you can see all these presets I've created, and I'll show you guys how I create them. So I go to export, export 5 files, and these are all so it comes with these Lightroom presets, and these are the ones that I've created for my purposes. So let's just say, let's create a new one. Oops, actually, backtrack. So let's create a new one for Lightroom. So here, export to, I usually leave it at choose folder later, because I am using this as a preset, and it reminds you useful for presets, because if you choose specific folder and then you choose that folder and save it as a preset, it'll keep saving it into that folder, or if that folder is no longer there, then it'll won't have a place to save it, and it'll prompt you.
Yeah.
And so actually, let's choose desktop. Okay. And then let's create a folder for Instagram on my desktop. And you can choose to add your exported images to the catalog, but I find that it's not necessary, because I want the catalog to be a place where I am only looking through my raw images and processing them.
Yeah.
Unless, say, for example, I retouch something and it's a layered TIFF file, then I will add it to catalog, and then that way I can export it in Lightroom.
Yeah.
To a JPEG. Existing files, I always set it to ask what to do, because you don't want to overwrite something. At least I don't want to.
Yes.
It can be dangerous. And
I know, not being able to go back.
Yeah. And then you can choose how you want to rename the file, if you want to rename it at all. So I'm going to choose, there's all these other default settings too. So I do file name, and then I choose the text to be IG. So you know that that's the file for, it's not this, you don't get it confused with something of the same file name. JPEG, sRGB for web. And then I do like 80. This doesn't matter as much, but I think typically, I hit enter by accident.
Oh no.
And it's exporting here.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to cancel that. Let's go back. Muscle memory.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Okay, we're back. We're back.
We are back.
And then here's the thing.
Kind of nice too that it actually brings up the settings that you did kind of previously, like whatever you did, which is nice.
It'll keep the last thing you did as a default, which is really helpful. So here is image sizing, and then I do for Instagram, I do long edge 1500, resolution 72 for web. That's what I export as, I believe. that's the maximum for Instagram. I always have to check like occasionally because I feel like it's
always
changing.
changing.
But then I think even if you upload it as a 1500 pixel long image, I think Instagram compresses it.
Yeah, it kind of
right?
still does either way.
Yeah. So I just export it as 1500 because I know that having it any larger isn't gonna help. It doesn't do anything for the quality because ultimately it'll get compressed in the app. Again, I don't sharpen, but that's just a preference. I don't need things to be hyper sharp. Metadata, you can choose what to include. I'm going to choose copyright and contact info only. And then we don't need a watermark, but the watermark function is useful when you're, say, for example, maybe you're sending a bunch of images to a client and you want to prevent them from using the images somewhere or using them prematurely, because I've experienced when like I've sent low-res images to client. Yeah,
and they still used them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. Oh my gosh.
And I was
and
like,
that's such like 101 too for clients to know that like that's not right.
Yeah, and it's like it wasn't even properly, I just did like an overall copy and paste adjustment, so it wasn't ready. Because if it's hundreds of images, I don't go in like I just did and do like fine tuning. I just make sure the exposure is okay, and then they'll know that I'll go in later and make it like delivery ready. So you can go in and watermark if you would like, and I created different settings here, but you can choose, whether you can have your logo as a watermark or just some text. And then the opacity too. Of course, you want to position it in a way where the client can still see what the image is.
Yeah.
But not be able to stamp it out or something.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But yeah, this is definitely like a handy, quick option.
It's a good little way.
And then you can choose here after exporting what you want it to do, and I choose show in Finder so that I know I don't have to keep track and I can keep working on stuff, and then when it's ready it'll just pop up on my screen. So once you have those set, you can click add, and then I'm going to name this preset Instagram, Adobe, and then folder is user presets.
Okay.
So
there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
So you don't have to go through that all over again. Whenever you shoot, you can just highlight the images that you want to export, go to export, and then see here, I'm just like selecting, and then it'll, populate everything exactly the way that you want it to for that need.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And put in a
that saves you some time.
Totally. Yeah, that's why I have all these set up here, so I don't have to go in and do it every time. And you don't have to remember those numbers, because like everything has a different need. Like MailChimp has one need, printing has one, TIFF for printing, or for your retoucher. It's all different formats, and it's so much information.
Yeah, absolutely.
The less you have to retain, the more that you can automate, the better.
Yes.
I'm going to hit export.
You want to be efficient here.
Yeah. So earlier when I accidentally hit enter, it already started exporting. So this is that setting when I said like don't overwrite or ask what to do. This is what happens. So it'll say the files already exist. Do you want to overwrite or skip? And then if you want to keep the ones that you already did, then you can use unique names, and then it'll do like IG1 or IG2, IG2, because they're different file names. But since it's the same thing, I'm just going to overwrite.
Yeah.
And then
awesome.
There you can see it's exporting. So that's how I do it for Lightroom. Shall we go in and do you guys want to see how I would Photoshop? Oh, okay.
I think people would love to see that for sure. We do have a few minutes left until we do portfolio review, so we can definitely pick that up as soon as we finish with the portfolio reviewing.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, just a couple minutes, and then we'll head on over to Behance to look at the portfolio reviewing.
Cool. So you see that the Finder window just popped up because it was finished exporting. So it's pretty awesome. So it exported to my desktop in a folder called Instagram, and then these are the images that are sized at 1500 on the long side. And then I guess I can show you. Sometimes I use an app for the white border that I think someone mentioned when they saw my Instagram, but I also have a template set up for Instagram, which is maybe
and then
something
that way you can place it and then just export that.
Yeah, that might be useful.
Awesome.
It's not loading. Let's see. Open. Where it is. Come on. Do I double click? Oh, okay.
Maybe it's in a different hard drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That always happens to me where I'm like, oh, I'm trying to open something. And then it's like, oh, shoot, I don't even have the right drive connected.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Oh, nice.
So I have this template set up and it's basically...
That's pretty neat.
So this is it's basically just a transparent background. And then I have a portrait frame and then a landscape frame. So what I'll do is take this guy, drag and drop, and then I have the landscape frame, and then I think I might have messed with my settings so that it scales when I have to press shift. I think now like Photoshop, because they changed it, right?
Yeah, they changed it. Yeah.
It used to be that you have to press shift, but now you don't. Yes. And then I got confused. So I switched it back and now I'm even more confused. Like, do I or don't I have to press shift? So yeah, I scaled it up a little bit, and then I love that it snaps in, and then here,
I love those snaps.
Snap
feature.
They're so helpful.
Yes.
And then and then I save to web, which is Shift Option Command S. Another shortcut for you guys. And then you can see here it's 1500 by 1500. Save.
Cool.
Pop Instagram. And then there's the one with the white frame.
Oh my gosh, love it. So beautiful.
I don't know if we're gonna have. Should I continue to try to retouch?
Sure. I actually have a question from Jan Eric.
Okay.
Carmen, how often do you bring an image into Photoshop, and is this the step at the end of the edit or at the very start?
So I bring it into Photoshop after I apply all of the color treatment in Lightroom, and then I export it as a TIFF. So I can show you. Nice. So we're gonna play with that one. So I do this outfit. I have this preset, choose folder later, and TIFF, Adobe RGB, because I'm editing it, and that allows me to use it for print potentially. And if I wanted to use it for web, then I'll just export it again as sRGB. But I don't want to limit myself. If I export as a TIFF and sRGB, then it's not going to print well.
Right.
So TIFF 300, and then again, this has to choose folder later, so you'll see how that works. So then here you can browse into the folder that you want to put it in. This is also part of my archive organization, but whenever I have a folder, so say this is the job folder, I create these individual folders so that this contains all the raws, this is my selects. So
I do the same thing.
Okay, awesome. Yes.
Yeah, mine are always like raw, best, and then like final, and then like JPEG for web or whatever.
Yeah. Yes, I have the similar thing here. So I'll
love
stick those in the TIFF folder.
It's so important to be organized, like, because you're just like dealing with so many photos, so many files. So for sure.
Yeah. Last thing you want to do is just be trying to like browse thumbnails or something to look for something. All
right. We're ready for portfolio review. So
awesome.
We're gonna play a little video and we'll be right back. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back. We are in space right now. Normally, if we were in, normal SF studio, we'd be putting on some really crazy like space like helmets. But we're in here now and let's get ready to review some portfolios. So we're gonna head over to Behance. I have my screen up here. Thank you, Paco. I'm so excited. Katya Havoc is the portfolio that we're reviewing today. And I mean, I'm already like loving all this color.
Yeah.
So let's see. So she's a photographer and a digital artist. She works primarily in Lightroom, Photoshop, and she uses Adobe Stock too. So very cool. She calls herself a contemporary pop art photographer and digital artist, and she's been doing it since 2015. So really cool. I'm just like ready to jump right in. Carmen, did you want to look at any project in particular that kind of stands out to you?
I mean, they're all, I'm down to look at any of them. They're all so fun.
They're
The
so
colors
fun.
and the geometry, the composition.
I know. It's a pop of color and I love it. All right, maybe we'll just start here with the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one's called Bubbly. And ooh, okay, I like that there's all this information already about kind of what the project is. I think that's great for Behance, especially, the more kind of context you can give, the better. So this is pretty recent, August 2020. This is Water, Soap, and Colors. Ooh.
It's really cool.
I love this. Yeah, it's super cool. I wonder like on what did they shoot this on,
I know. Maybe like
so fascinating.
Black seamless underneath like a glass container or something.
Oh yeah, because you're right. The bubbles are black. So maybe like black acrylic or something underneath and then yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah. I love how like the colors. Well, first of all, she did that last month. So that means she probably did this at home or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Totally.
Which is really cool that she came up with this project and was able to create something that was like in her style and color that was done at home and like super interesting.
Yeah, this is like very like experimental and kind of abstract. I love it. And there's so much that you can do with like color like this too, and when you're mixing.
Yeah. Some of the smaller bubble sections look like honeycombs.
They kind of do. Huh?
Yeah. It's
really
cool.
Lovely. Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
I feel like I'm like,
okay. It almost kind of reminds me, hopefully I don't like trigger anybody, but that like phobia of like all those little holes.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody knows it, but drop it in the chat if you do. But it kind of reminds me of that, but it's a lot more easier on the eyes. So I feel like it's not, it's like cooler.
Yeah. I totally know what you're talking about though.
No, this is awesome. Katya, hopefully you're in here watching or you're in the chat or something, because you can give us some more context. Would be great. But this is awesome. And now that I look at it, like all the little black bubbles kind of look like eyes in a way.
Yeah, they do. Because of the reflection from the light. Oh my gosh, N said don't look for it on Google. Wait, what is it called though? What is the thing called that you're not that you should not look up on Google? Something it's not tryptophobia, is it?
No, I don't know.
It is tryptophobia.
Oh yeah, it is tryptophobia. Okay, there you go. Thanks, James.
Don't look it up though. It's called tryptophobia.
It's kind of scary. Don't look at the one that has like it's like a hand and like a ton of those little. It's kind of crazy.
Thanks, excellence.
Yes. No, this is lovely. I love the kind of playfulness, and I don't know. This is just okay. Wait, we're getting into some really fun colors over here too. This kind of has like this cotton candy vibe. Yeah, I love this. I can see this being like really big like canvases or like prints,
Yeah, prints.
Seeing like kind of like a 3x3
print even.
Ooh, yeah.
Or like, I know this is already somewhat macro, but like, what if it was even more macro?
Yeah, get some like additional like detail shots where you're really up close.
Yeah,
where you see kind of the texture even more.
Where you're just seeing like gradients.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I would love to know maybe if you added a little bit more I don't know, even some behind the scenes so that you can talk about like what was going on without like throughout this process, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that'd be cool to know. So cool though. Wow. Beautiful. I'm obsessed.
Cool. Yeah, really cool.
It's really pleasing. Awesome. Yeah, would love to know a little bit more. Okay, so maybe it was like, okay, water, soap, and color. So that's what she used. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I would definitely love to see like behind the scenes or even like little
Yeah.
video clips of her like manipulating it or something.
Yes. Oh my God, like a GIF, even like of just like that movement. I think that would be
Mm-hmm.
really cool and would add another like element to this project, which is awesome. So super cool. Love it, Katya. Okay. I kind of love this little like situation
Yeah,
here. So I'm gonna click on
let's see
it.
that.
This one's called Liquid. Oh my God, I love this so much. It's
That's,
just like so cool. It's very pop art for sure.
yeah.
And I like that it's I don't know how recent this was, but it kind of like a nod to, you know, like COVID in 2020 and just like
Oh,
kind of the glove.
sanitation.
Yeah, sanitation, exactly. Okay, this is called the Project Liquid. Okay, see, I like this kind of like little context situation here. So it was created for Adobe stock. Liquid is just the illusion of your reality. There's a concept of imagination and mind game. Ooh, okay, like this is cool.
Whoa,
Wow, this
that's
is
rad.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm wonder, so she didn't say what, do you think the like goopy stuff is just digital? It's all
It
digital?
kind of seems digital. Yeah,
'Cause
it
it
looks
does,
like it.
it does there, but I'm impressed by like in the GIF, like
Yeah,
how it look the shape of it, I guess.
yeah, I know. It almost, yeah, I don't know how they did that, but it's almost like they're moving the whole image.
Or do you think see, this is where BTS is super interesting, right? Or do you think like that green goop was like green screen green, you
Ooh,
know? And then she just
yeah.
like put,
This is where that BTS would be super awesome because I think that would, I don't know, it's just so fascinating. There's something like fascinating about both seeing like the final project, but also seeing what it took to get there too.
yeah, totally. I'm 100% always curious about how it happened, how it like
Yeah,
the thought process, how that person like what what did that person experience to get them to the point where they
yes,
created that thing?
exactly. Yeah, it's so fascinating. But I love this color and I love the monochrome of it too, like the monochromatic vibe here.
Hmm.
Ooh, yes. Yeah, this has to be like digital,
Yeah,
you know?
because those two images look the same.
Yeah. And I wonder actually, yeah, I mean, it's if this is the same image, they probably just like slid the like hue or, you know, hue saturation to kind
Hue,
of get a
yeah,
completely different color, which is like super fun.
yeah.
Love it. It's so satisfying to watch. I think this is cool. I mean, everything I've seen so far from Katya is really unique and fun. Yes, love this. And I really like the details of all these like X's too. I don't know, like there's something that like very kind of adds to the whole like weirdness of it or like
Hmm.
a psychedelic feel. That's cool.
Cool.
All right, awesome. A great series. Okay. Maybe let's look at this Coro Berlin
Yeah.
photo shoot for them. Okay, this is a photo shoot for a healthy food brand. Okay, so she's getting into some kind of product photography here. And the brand's location's in Berlin. And this was shot this last December. Ooh. Okay, I love this. I love the use of these shapes here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. And I love the shadows too. I love this kind of like hard light look.
Same. Like shadow play.
Mm-hmm. Because shadows can add, it's kind of like an element, you know, that can
Hmm.
add to an image and kind of be a prop in itself, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That was really cool. And I love the colors too. All these like dried fruits.
Yeah.
This is neat.
I wonder what's in that jar.
I know. I don't know what that is.
I think it's like a hazel paste, hazelnut like butter.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yum. That looks really good. I mean, I think she did an excellent job of like just kind of having each product like highlighted. I wonder, I'm assuming that these ingredients are part of maybe what's in it.
I don't know. Or maybe that's just another product
Or maybe
offering.
just an element. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right, actually. Yeah, that makes sense. Beautiful. Product's always so interesting. You know, I'm sure like for you, it's like, it's thinking about, you know, when you're working with a model, it's like a whole different process. And like, you kind of sometimes like let that inspire you versus when it's like product, like you have to be very kind of, you know, make decisions and like move things around and play.
Yeah. Still life is a whole nother
beast
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, well, like, you know a lot about that world though.
Yeah. It's so fun, but yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of
its own challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, this is great. I love it.
I think my favorite part was like when she arranged the strawberries. That's really cool too.
I love this too.
Like,
yeah.
What shadow that the fruit creates.
Yeah.
But when she arranged like the strawberries in a grid or like,
yeah,
I love that.
Kind of like this. Yeah.
And the pineapple
very
on the cone elevated. Is really fun too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it looks great. And the lighting here is so good too. Super fun. Great job, Katya. I mean, literally can do no wrong. There's like, it's so appealing. Like the colors.
Oh, Excellence wants to see the esoteric project.
Ooh, okay, let's do it. Thank you, Excellence. Okay, so esoteric creative photo shoot. Oh, this was in May 2020. Also in Inside. Okay, see, this is like a good example of someone who's like taking this time to like work on some personal projects and like just really like flush out any creative, you know, juices. So super fun. I wonder what they did here. Like what kind of texture they added to their hand.
Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely a mask, right? It's not like a painted hand. Maybe it is.
I think it is.
Oh, it is.
I think it is. I think it's like a completely painted hand.
That's why it's so crusty.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely think they tweaked the colors. I mean, this like
the vibrance.
Yeah, for sure.
Those so eyes are fun.
Yes.
Reminds me of like having a pack of those and just putting them on everything.
Oh my god, yes. Ooh, this is fun. I love this kind of like playful vibe in this.
Yeah. I realized I think she might have used the prop from that fruit shoot, but I think it's like recontextualizing it into a totally different, it's so cool.
Yeah. I also, the thing that I like about Katya, like the way that she's presenting all of her projects too, with all these like little graphic elements and even like these like little border things like behind the images, like I think that really helps like kind of, you know, solidify it and like bring it all together and make it cohesive, even more cohesive than it already is, because, you know, from the same shoot. But I think it's these like fun little elements that like make it really pop.
Like considering how it's being presented.
Yes,
as well.
Considering the presentation. Exactly. Yeah. I think she really is successful in that for sure. Oh my gosh, I love this.
That is cool.
That has to be glitter, right? I think. Let me see. Ooh.
I can't tell, but it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, let me see if I can Oh, maybe I can't get out. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just want to make sure I get to all of them. Ooh, okay. I love this too. Yes. Yeah, I think the colors are really awesome. I think that's probably my favorite part about her work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
really
that's
don't,
cool.
I know, I don't really have any like, feedback. It's kind of like maybe just like more adding more BTS elements so that we can get a sense of like your process and like maybe like to learn a little bit more of like what inspired the project, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that the hand with the eyes on the fingers would make a really good GIF.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Almost like like maybe if the hand was kind of like going in and out, like
Mm-hmm. Because then you
oh,
could see
so
the
good.
little eyeballs moving.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny the texture of it is like so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is lovely. Cool. Yeah, this is awesome. Great job, Katya. I think you have a really great portfolio and a lot of fun color that is just really um awesome to look at. So, but I think that's pretty I think we're good. Maybe we can head on over um to you, Carmen, and we can kind of finish up any last minute things.
Sure.
But thank you guys for submitting your portfolios. Keep submitting them because we do these portfolio reviews every once in a while, especially at the start of a new Adobe Creative Challenge. So yeah, super cool. Thank you, Katya. Hopefully she was around.
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I love how consistent her style is too.
Yeah,
I feel like
totally.
sometimes that can be a challenge for it was a challenge for me too, starting out, like finding my style.
Yeah.
And it seems like she really has honed in on like the colors that she loves and what her strengths are. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with some retouching.
Awesome.
So this is the way that I retouch. I know that there's a way that involves frequency separation, but this
Mm-hmm.
is how I learned it at the very beginning. And I think frequency separation is efficient, but again, like I guess again it depends on the final result that you want and the purpose that it's being used for. So I think sometimes you can see beauty retouching and it's like so immaculate and poreless, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want that, because I just want to make it, I want it to still feel real.
Yeah.
So I think like softening everything is not my style.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just show you guys where I start. So the
Perfect.
first thing I do is to hit Command J to duplicate this background layer so
Okay.
that I still have the original untouched layer retained. And I'll start, so I'm just gonna label this heal.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I do is I go in, and then another keyboard shortcut is Command plus to zoom in.
Nice.
And J is the keyboard shortcut for the healing. And if you are unsure, hold on, I'm just gonna move this.
Nice.
Hold on. Yeah, you can see all the options here, and then the keyboard shortcuts are next to it, just in case you forget and need a reminder. So spot healing, and then you can see the little circle here, right bracket to make it bigger, left bracket to make it smaller, shift right bracket to make it harder, and you can see up here where it gets harder. So I'm pressing shift right bracket and then shift left bracket makes it softer.
Yeah.
I always go with soft so that it blends more easily. And so the first thing I do is do all the healing to remove like any major things. So option to select the target where you're I'm on the healing brush that just collects information from around the spot. But if you hit J again, then you can choose a source where it heals from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just depends on like what area you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I use as small of a brush as possible so that you are like manipulating as few pixels as possible, because if you say this mole and I use this huge brush, then like you're working on an area that doesn't need to be worked on, essentially.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I always go with like the smallest, and I'm gonna leave her mole because there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm sourcing here and
Nice.
just kind of going in. So option to select where your source is, and then you don't have to do it every time, as long as it's like pulling from where the area you want to pull from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just little things.
I love that. Yeah, very very simple.
Just really, honestly, her skin's amazing.
Her skin's amazing.
I know,
you don't really have to do much.
Yeah, and then I hit spacebar when I'm zoomed in, and then it'll switch you to the hand tool, and that allows you to like drag around the image here.
Yeah, that's nice.
So then again, command minus to zoom back out, and then command comma to turn on and off the layer. That way I can like quickly toggle between like what I've done and what was there before.
Yeah. Mario's asking, Carmen, how long have you been shooting?
Oh, hi Mario. I've been shooting for 9 years now.
Nice. Yeah, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, huh?
How long has everyone else in here been shooting, if you are a photographer?
Yes, let us know in the chat. And if you have any last minute questions, feel free to shoot them over, and Carmen will answer. And of course, we do have tomorrow too, so don't worry.
Yeah, join me again tomorrow. I'm going to be working on something different. I'll be working on some travel photography that I photographed for Serial magazine in Chicago. So
that's exciting.
I'll be going over some different things that we can do in Lightroom for those types of images.
Maria's asking, do you edit on a computer or a tablet?
Oh, I edit on a tablet, and it's a Wacom tablet, and it's actually not like the Pro one or anything. It's the Intuos pen small pen tablet. It looks like this. Nice. And the reason why I have this versus the big Pro one is because I don't actually use like any of the pressure features or anything, and because I travel a bunch and I like portability is more important to me. The less you have. Yeah, the portability is really important to me. And so actually this small tablet is totally sufficient for my needs.
That's awesome.
I'm all about like not buying the most expensive thing that you will actually never use the features of.
Yeah. Oh, Manasa says, wow, amazing tips.
Yay, I'm so glad this is helpful for some of you. Yeah. Okay, so that's just quickly to show you how I heal. And then the next layer that I create is I create 2 curved layers, and I'm going to call this one dodge, and then I'm going to call this one burn. And I just double click, like double tap on this to get it to rename it. Yeah. And so the dodge layer, I'm going to, let me just resize this. You guys can see. Okay. So the dodge, I'm going to push all the way up here. Yeah. And then the burn, I'm going to pull all the way down here. And then I'm going to switch this so that this is the, we're going to switch the black to the background. And then I'm going to hit Command Delete to fill this mask, which means that you saw earlier that they applied and now they're not applied, but they're still on, because now only the white part of this mask will show up. So dodging and burning is, there's also a dodge and burn tool in Photoshop, but that is destructive. meaning like
Right,
you're
right.
actually affecting the pixels, whereas these adjustment layers, which are curves, they don't do anything to the actual pixels like healing
Right.
does, or the dodge and burn tools in
And they're
here.
all masks, so you can just take it away
Exactly.
or put it back. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Yeah. So I use these two layers, and then I am on my brush tool, which is shortcut B.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, it'll rotate through. So sometimes you'll see, so it's rotating through here. I want to be on the regular brush.
Awesome.
And I want to be on the softest mode, which the shortcut shift left bracket, and pretty soft. And then my opacity here, I want to be at like a 3. And
Nice.
there's
Yeah,
also,
very soft, very subtle.
yeah, so like super soft. I guess you can also adjust the flow, but I just do like a very low
Right, yeah.
opacity, nothing over 4, sometimes even 3.
Mhm.
And then make sure it's on white. So you're brushing white onto this. And so what I do with this is my dodge is lightening and my burn is darkening.
Okay.
So this is kind of like what people used to do in the dark room, dodging and
Yeah.
burning and adding more
Mhm.
light or reducing. So I look for spots here, for example, like where there's like unevenness in her skin. And so I'm going to dodge that area.
Nice.
And it's very, very subtle. So here I'm going to command comma to turn it on off. Like that was even too much. So I'm going to go back.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're going to go for a 3 opacity. And if you say you make a mistake, you just hit X to toggle between the black and the white. And so I'm going to hit X to toggle back to black, and then just like brush it back. So now
Awesome.
you can see that I can remove that dark spot. And again, it's non-destructive. So
Cool.
I'm going to go back to white. Are you wrapping up?
Carmen. Yeah, actually, it's kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe Paco's not around. Paco, are you there?
Like, yeah, I saw the screen.
I saw the screen also like go away. So I was like,
Wait.
yeah, sorry. So, yeah, sorry. No, I can't, for some reason your Paco screen, your screen isn't showing the thing. So I was like banking on your thing showing up. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's stream.
Thank you.
Bye, Carmen.
Bye.